Hey everyone, it's the Nitty Professor here today to share my impressions regarding heritage boots and airport security. So you probably, like many of us and myself, were pretty excited when a year or two ago they were like, well, we've got machines now, you don't need to take your shoes off anymore when you go through security. And on this last trip I made, visited my sister and my son in Atlanta. It's a bit of a hike down there. And just for a little background, I'd be curious how you guys handle this, but when I go on a trip in an airplane, I prefer not to have baggage under the plane because of the expense associated with it and just the headache of, having to just wait for it to come off the baggage claim and maybe it's not there, maybe something broke, I don't know. So I just travel light, right? So I wear one pair of boots the whole trip, even if it's a week. And that's it. I got my shoes on my feet. I don't have slippers, nothing. Just, that way I don't have to pack shoes. And of course, these babies, so these are my Parkhurst Alleganys in Kudu. And I thought, well, I've got this great Munson last. These will get me through 5 days in Atlanta, no problem. Walked 10, 12,000 steps a day and sweat, heat, no problem. Just everything just worked great. Got some nice, great wear on them. So that's my strategy. And I've been through airport security, multiple times with heritage boots on since the new news that you don't have to take your shoes off. So a couple times, I took them at their word. I was like, should I take off my boots? I was like, got boots on and I just shoes. And, oh no, it's fine. Go through and then, gotta run back and take your boots off and go through again. So in the meantime, all your bags that, I always feel like airport security is this really vulnerable spot where anybody could just grab your bag because they really don't do a whole lot to associate you with your bag besides, is this yours? Versus baggage claim where you got tickets and all this stuff. To me, it's just kind of a free-for-all. And I'm like, my bags are way over there and I'm over here and I have to go back and I have to wait in line again, take my boots off and then, go through again and put them in the bin. And so this time, I was like, you know what? I'm just taking them off. So, what happened this time was, took my boots off, put them in my bin with everything else, and then my stuff came through the conveyor belt. They had like two tracks for the conveyor belt once it came off of the x-ray machine. And mine didn't come in front of me. It went on the opposite track behind the fiberglass where I couldn't get at it. It had to be re-scanned. So I'm like, oh boy, what are they finding, And it was like I was standing there for another 10-15 minutes just waiting for my stuff to go all the way back while I'm standing there and it's on the other end and hoping, that it all ends up with me, my new yarn, my new t-shirts, my souvenir magnet, all this precious stuff plus my computer. So anyhow, it came back and then they had a person personally inspect it, and she asked me behind this fiberglass that I could barely understand, do you have any sharp objects? I was like, no, and she didn't even open any in my bag. She just kind of picked up my boots and she found my driver's license in there, and then she's like, you're good to go. So I just want to kind of address this issue that when you guys probably know this, right? I would love to know your experiences. Like, can you corroborate my experience based on your going through airport security with your wonderful heritage boots? So the question is, why is this? So what is it about these guys, these great boots, that make them vulnerable to, detection issues with the x-ray machines? Now you guys probably already know a lot of this, but just in case you don't. So there are several potential issues. Now with these Parkhurst boots, which, as I said, man, they just held up beautifully. I mean, they were comfortable. I was wearing them 12 hours a day and just was so glad that I chose these boots. If you want to choose good traveling boots, choose the Parkhurst Allegany. They fit good. They wear well. They've got this beautiful patina. These are the Kudu, like I say. I was so glad I bought them. But, just look. Right there, we've got an issue, right? We've got the hardware. The metal hardware, you got your speed hooks, you got your eyelets. That's all metal. And all of that can kind of add up. Obviously, your sneakers, your leather shoes probably aren't going to have speed hooks on them, right? And my son was like, well, maybe it's the nails that go into the sole. So you can see here, there's nail. I'm wearing them down to the nails, guys. Not a surprise. There's another nail. So yes, there are nails connecting this boot. They're probably kind of clinch nailed that, you know, they go up in and they get smushed down, and then you have your insole that goes over top of them. Could be an issue. But in my opinion, the primary reason why these get flagged when you go through security is these particular boots, and a lot of good heritage boots, have a steel shank. I'm guessing, and I would be curious if you guys agree with me, if that's the issue what I'm having, is that steel shank that's inside these boots. They're like, you know, nope, got an issue, you know, so, I think probably the wisest course of action is just to expect that you're going to have an issue. Because I was like, oh, it'll be smooth sailing if I just take them off, and then I have to find the bench, the old lady bench, you know, because for me, I had my hips replaced, so it's an issue for me to bend over and put these babies on. I don't like having to do it twice, but I would rather do that than carry a whole extra pair of shoes that I'm only going to wear just so I can get through airport security. So, you know, it's going to be a headache, and I had the extra weight. Fortunately, I was there in plenty of time, and so, you know, give yourself like an extra 10 or 15 minutes just to deal with this headache. I think it's worth it because your feet are going to thank you the whole time. You can do all the stuff that you want to without having to worry about tripping or breaking your ankle or being uncomfortable. You know, you've got this wonderful leather and stuff. So to me, it's worth it. But it is a bit of a headache, even though, you know, theoretically, you don't have to take off your shoes. So you can, I think either way, to me, it's just easier to just take them off at the front, even if the person's like, oh no, you don't have to do that. It's like, oh, I'm just going to do it because that way at least I know that I've, you know, gone to the greatest possible length. Normally, when I take them off, even if it's like they have to ask me and I have to go through again, take them off, put them in the bin, they're like, oh, this is fine. So it's usually a guarantee that they're just going to go through fine. Now, if you have a steel toe, that's even going to be more of an issue, right? So I don't have anything with steel toe, but steel toe would obviously be even more of a reason for the machine to go off. And I'd be curious, those of you who wear work boots through airport security, I would be really curious about your situation. But I would just give yourself a little extra time, probably just go ahead and take them off, put them in the bucket, and maybe expect that even when you go to that length, that you still might have an issue, and you just got to be patient, which I was like, you know, I was just trying to, standing there with my RBF, you know, just trying to take a deep breath. Everything worked out fine. I got my boots back and made it back. And like I say, I mean, you could just tell even just from the wear on the heel, these boots are not that old. I don't know, I got some fur on here. Nothing new. But I'm really putting a lot of miles on these babies because they are awesome. So I'll include a reference to my Parkhurst Allegany's in the notes. So let me know your thoughts, and your experiences, and appreciate your comments in advance. Thank you guys for taking this video in, and if you got any more advice, let us know that too. Y'all take care. Ciao.